So, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is the latest film from Mary Bronstein, who previously directed a mumblecore comedy with Yeast. And yeah, this is it's a dark comedy, but I feel like I gotta preference this film by saying, yeah, it's a dark comedy, but it's a dark, inky, pitch black comedy that dares you you almost kind of want to laugh just to like relieve some of the stress from the situation, because this is it's a psychological horror film with darkly comedic elements, but it's very much an intense and nerve-wracking film. Like, this is very much, I think the closest comparison I can make for this film is with the Babadook, because the Babadook tried to place like some supernatural horror on top of what it feels like to be a stressed out parent. And If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is very much a parenthood psychological horror, but the Babadook kind of looks like a much softer film by comparison. This is the way that I've tried to explain this film is that this is parenthood horror set on nightmare mode. Like, if you've been a parent, this film is going to get under your skin. It is going to just kind of get under your nerves and just shake you to your core. And, you know, as someone who is a parent, this shook me. This film was terrifying, that I almost kind of like relished the moments of absurd comedy that they insert here. Because I was like, I need some levity, because like this is like, I was just like gripping my seat. I was like, this is getting unhinged. This is nerve-wracking for anyone who's been a parent. This is gonna throw you over the edge. It's like, I need something here, and thankfully there are some comedic moments to this film. So a really big credit here to Rose Byrne in the role of Linda, who is a stressed out mother trying to deal with her daughter who is on a feeding tube and can't quite get off it. It feels like if she just has a little bit more support, she'll be off the feeding tube, but she doesn't really have, you know, the support of a lot of people around her. Like, her husband, played by Christian Slater, who mostly interacts with her over the phone and berates her, is working somewhere else at the moment, so she's on her own. And as if that weren't bad enough, she has water damage in her home when a giant hole opens up in her ceiling. And it damages her apartment, and she's forced to live in a motel while trying to attend to her regular therapist job, while also trying to help her daughter, who is just stressed out and terrified of everything and isn't sure if she wants to get off the feeding tube, and also deal with the school that's trying to deal with her, and also just maintain some sanity. And she's also addicted to, you know, booze and later on drugs, and just like everything in her life is going wrong, and it just keeps going wrong, where it feels weird to kind of recommend this as a dark comedy, because you're like, how is this a comedy? This feels like a horror film. It's like, yeah, it is, but it gets so dark that you kind of have to laugh. And thankfully there are some very bizarre moments where
finds a way.
Life has to find a way, you know. Thank you, Jeff Goldblum. You put it beautifully, because that is very much at the heart of the film, which is that Linda is trying to keep everything together, and it's just nothing is going right here. Like, there are some very absurd moments here. Like, at one point, Linda's daughter really wants a hamster as a pet, and the hamster they get is just so like cartoonishly monstrous that you're almost relieved that something really nasty happens to that hamster. It's like, it's disturbing and it's brutal, and you almost like don't want it to happen, but also you're kind of on the side where it's like, man, just wow, that's grim and that's dark, but it's also kind of absurd, and it's like, you know, maybe I should laugh at this, because there are moments in this film where you want to laugh, because like the biggest comparison to it besides the Babadook would be something like Bad Santa, where you're kind of just watching it out of fascination to see which like it's a train wreck, and you're watching it to see which cars don't fly off the rails in all of this, and it's kind of surprising to see which ones don't. Um, because there is a little bit of a tease in this type of film. There always feels like there's this level of, something like a Babadook, where Linda keeps experiencing these strange lights when she goes back to her apartment and tries to investigate, where it feels like there might be something bigger that she can like escape towards, or almost kind of like blame for the problems in her life. And it never comes. And you kind of like wish there were, like, you wish there were some, like, supernatural force or aliens or something else to blame, and there isn't. And again, you kind of have to laugh at that, because it's like, yeah, all of this feels like stuff like a stressed out parent would have to deal with. That the few times when Linda does bite back, especially in the third act, you relate to her more. And I think another thing I gotta stress here is that a lot of people might get the idea that Linda's daughter is just, because you do not see her face for the majority of the film. I don't think you see her face till the very end. So there's always this idea in the film that maybe her daughter is like a figment of her imagination. And there's some weird visions where it almost seems like it might be, because we get these scenes of surgery and her, talking about abortion and stuff like that, and having regrets of being a parent, where you almost kind of feel like, oh, is this, going to be one of those in her mind type deals where it's like, it was all just a figment of her imagination. Do not worry. The film does not go that route. It does not place it on some easy platitude. It's like, oh, it was all in her head. It's like, I hate that shit. I hate whenever they say like, oh, everything was just, unreliable narrator and all that shit. No, there is like a concrete ending here. And I think what helps establish that connection between the fact that Linda really does have a daughter that she's trying to pull for and trying to relate to is the fact that her daughter is not just like a constant, burden in her life. Like, she does scream, she is distressed, she talks really fast, she's very annoying, as most kids are, but there are those moments of humanity where the child can clearly see that Linda is stressed. And there are several moments where her daughter just confesses to her, like, Mom, I'm sorry if I'm causing you stress. I don't mean to be a burden. I'll try to be better. I'll try to do something like that. And just moments like that just rip your heart out. Because you want to cry as much as Linda, because, she's trying her best and she's doing everything she can. And it feels like the only one who is championing for her is her daughter. And she's like, you want to cry, and you also want to laugh. You want to find like some levity to that, because there is none here. And I think the biggest signifier of that is the fact that you have Conan O'Brien in this film as Linda's therapist and her coworker at the same time. So she has this very very awkward relationship with Conan O'Brien, and he is very straight-faced in this film. Dry comedy here. Like, there is some like some absurd lines that he has to say here and there, but for the most part, he's just quiet. He is just distant. He is trying not to get involved with Linda's life when clearly she wants him to play a bigger part. She wants Conan to be the salvation for her, to, give her the right answers, or give her some comfort, give her some romantic attention when, like, Slater's character is absent, and he just will not relent. He will not give her anything. And it's just like, it's one of those discomforting things. Just like, okay, Conan O'Brien is in this comedy, and he is not giving you any comedic relief here. I'd say, if anything, if there's any comedic relief in this film at all, it's from A$AP Rocky's character of James, who is a hotel superintendent, who is, I think of all the characters in this film, he is the nicest. He's the most understanding. He's basically kind of a bit of a friend to Linda when she comes to stay at the hotel. Because, like, Linda gets into a little bit of a fight with, like, the receptionist, saying, like, oh, I can't sell you this wine, you don't have your ID. And James is like, oh, okay, it's cool. She just, it's late, she's a little distressed, she wants a little drink, just, I'll buy it for her. And even when Linda gets locked out of her motel, like, James is just like, I'll help you. And he has no ulterior motive. He's not trying to be a creep. He genuinely cares for her. Even if that care extends into buying drugs off the dark web. I think that there is like another character who you kind of relate to more, which is Carolyn, one of Linda's patients, who is also a mother, who is also distressed, and you kind of get to see, like the dark path that Linda could go down, because Carolyn feels so uncertain, so distressed that she just wants to end everything. And I don't mean that by like suicide. I mean, she just wants to run away, get away from everything, because there are several moments where you feel for Linda where she would want to do that, where nothing's going right. She wants to get away. She wants to abandon everything, run away, get out of there immediately. And Carolyn kind of like presents that opportunity where she's almost kind of like signaling to Linda, look, we're both distressed mothers. Nothing's going right in our lives. Let's run away together. Let's just go off into the sunset and never come back, and just, because we're never going to be able to fight this. We're never going to be able to fight the waves. At one point, Linda literally goes down to the beach and just starts like punching waves at one point, just, realizing that nothing that she can do is going to make that much of a difference. And everything that she tries, just trying to make her life easier or her family life better, just blows up in her face, and just feeling that nothing is worth it. And for how dark this film gets, I will say this: it does end on a little bit of a hopeful note of, realizing that, like I said, there's still that humanity within her daughter that kind of like keeps her going. And it's a little bit dark and depressing at times, but also very human, for realizing that, everything might be against you in life, but there's going to be someone in your life who is dependent on you, who is a little bit appreciative of you as well. So I was very surprised at this film. Like I said, very nerve-wracking. In fact, it's so nerve-wracking. It is so intense and so deeply uncomfortable that I might never watch this film again, just because like I was just gripping my seat. I felt, and I've seen like tons of horror films, and this one really shook me in a way that I did not expect. For all the intensity, especially, I will say this: if you're a parent who just like, if hearing your child scream in agony or terror just like cuts through you like a knife, this film is really going to get under your skin, because there's a lot of screaming from Linda's child, and not just like the annoying, like, you're not getting me the Happy Meal today type of scream, but just like the terrified type of scream, where you just want to assure your child, like, no, everything's going to be okay. Like, it's fine, even though everything's not fine. And you're trying to just, maintain some comfort and order. It really gets under your skin here. And don't get me wrong, there are some very funny moments here, but like I said, they are inky, black, dark comedy moments that you really got to be ingrained in the dark comedy here to appreciate them here. Like, it's in small bursts. But I mean, Rose Byrne's performance is incredible here. Like, just all the distress in her eyes, and the intensity and the anxiety and everything that she feels here. Especially, there's a lot of extreme close-ups of her face, where her acting in those scenes is just so damn good. And I love her performance. I love the direction here. I love the psychological terror and the anxiety that it invokes. But I'm probably never going to watch this film again, just because I don't want to feel that discomfort again. So I've kind of quoted Roger Ebert's review of Naked Lunch when referring to this film, which is that, I like what was accomplished with this film, and I admire it, and I hate it at the same time. So it's a very, very well-made film. It has like the perfect tone, and it ingrains you, and it makes the character very believable and intense. So yeah, if I had legs, I'd kick you. It's a very discomforting psychological parent horror that, if you are a parent, it will get really under your skin, but it's also pretty funny and well acted at times. And Rose Byrne's performance here is incredible. So yeah, this was a very intense and fascinating film that it really, really shook me. It's a nerve-wracking psychological horror comedy that is very effective at what it's trying to do.